Hi. So today we're going to be talking about what to do with the kids if our partner is drinking or using drugs. If you do not have children, this might be a perfect week for you to go back through the archives of podcasts. I have been doing this for close to a decade, so there are quite a few to choose from. I was doing this before anyone knew what podcasts were, so please feel free to go through the library and take a listen to something that rings true for you this week. So knowing what to do when our loved one starts drinking or using drugs around the children can be really difficult. Here's one helpful tip, okay? We don't need to stick around when they're making bad choices. We can ask them to leave the house. Now, they might refuse, or maybe they're too drunk or too high or too messed up. So that's when we can pick up our keys, grab the kids, and head right out the door. Now, over the years, when I've made this suggestion, I have had some women say to me, Michelle, it's not that easy. What if they decide to follow me? What if the kids are busy and they don't want to leave the house? And here's the loving but hard truth, because I love doing this, but if I'm going to do this with integrity, I'm going to have to say things that challenge maybe sometimes what we think is acceptable and unacceptable behavior and I call those loving truths. They're a little prickly to hear. You're probably going to resist or get defensive when you hear them. And I know I would if when someone was, making these suggestions to me. But it's important that someone speaks the truth to you, whether you choose to want to observe that or not. And if you don't want to, and you want to say, Michelle, you're wrong, I understand that and I respect that too. There is a very good possibility that is correct. So you trust your gut. You trust yourself because you are the wisest person for your situation. But here's the loving truth that I want to say. Sometimes this disease requires us to do things that are not easy. Now, I had 3 young kids when I was married to my partner who struggles with addiction. And I totally understand what you mean when you say picking up and leaving if they refuse to with kids is not easy. Yeah, I get it. I had moments where I had to wake up my baby from a nap and get the older kids out of the house. After we were divorced, there was an evening that I had to drive until 3 a.m. from another state to rescue my kids because he was drunk and out of control, and my kids were scared and hiding in the bathroom. The reality of this disease is it's unfair, it's cruel, and it is terrifying. And I think that is why so many people do not want to discuss this disease, especially what it's like loving someone. If we know that they might follow us to the car when we try to leave, and this also happened to me on multiple occasions, then we can call the police. I had to call the police 3 separate times. Having the police show up at my house was humiliating and very embarrassing. And yes, the neighbors were definitely looking through the curtains. But it showed my partner that I meant what I said, which is, let me leave or I am calling the police. Calling the police also says, you need to take me seriously when I say, leave the house or leave me alone. We have to be willing to teach this disease and our partners that we mean what we say. We can courageously stand up to addiction by removing our loved ones and ourselves from potentially dangerous and damaging situations. One of the very, very wise women who is a part of our Love Over Addiction community shared her thoughts on this question that I asked. What do you do when you think your loved one might drink this weekend? So I asked her this, and this is what she wrote, and I thought it was so wise that I wanted to share it with you. My new thing, she says, is to stay will you let me know? So say to him, will you let me know if you're planning to drink tonight? If so, the kids and I are going to go do whatever. This lets him know that I am not interested in being around it, that I'm not trying to control his behavior, and that I have plans in place. Sometimes he'll say, I'm fine without it, which is great. Other times he drinks and we do something else. It's tiring, but more peaceful. So that's the question she asks. Will you let me know if you're planning to drink tonight? I think that's brilliant. Staying in a relationship with your partner who suffers from addiction, it does take courage and it takes commitment. And I'm really proud of her. And I'm also very, very proud of you too, because right now you're trying to learn something new. You're trying to cope. You're trying to expand your mind. You're trying to learn new tools. You're trying for change. And that makes you incredibly courageous. And here's the other thing I want to say before we end. This is a trial and error situation. None of us that love someone struggling with addiction get 10 out of 10 perfect scores for how we handle this disease. None of us. So if you look back on the choices that you have made in the past and think to yourself, I could have handled that differently. It's okay. We all have instances where we wish we had made a better choice on the way we are dealing with addiction. But we are learning as we go. So let's be gentle. Let's be kind to one another. And let's encourage each other, because community is really important. So if you would like a community, or if you'd like to ask a question, or if you'd like some encouragement or to encourage someone else, please come over to the Substack I write on. That's where I am these days. It's Michelle Anderson, or Love Over Addiction. You can just Google it, and I'll provide a link in the show notes. I hope you found this helpful, and I will talk to you next week.